Most of us find ourselves pretty pressed for time. That being said, there are many things we should make time for, especially if we are prepper or survivalist minded. In today's video discussion, we'll be taking a look at some basic things that you could do in your spare time at home. These are skills that you can work on during those in-between moments when you have nothing else going on, or even when you're doing something else like watching television, for example, America's favorite pastime. In short, these are simple skills that won't take up too much of your time and could save your life one day. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started in no particular order. Number 1, fire starting. Making fire is one of man's oldest tools. It's also one of the tools most taken for granted in the modern world. Who cares about making fire? And if I need one, I'll get a lighter. That's the attitude of most people in the world today. But what if the grid's been down for a while? Or what if you're lost somewhere and you don't have a lighter? Now what? This is something you can do in your spare time and in your backyard or somewhere else that it's safe to experiment with. Learn the basic principles of fire making now while you can. There's a lot to learn about natural tinder, types of wood, and the principles of friction. Making fire by hand is not as easy as it looks. It is a skill, and skills take practice. And with practice, that's how people make it look easy. Number 2, knot tying, another of man's earliest tools. This is a skill that man has perfected over centuries, and then all of a sudden, in the modern era, seems to have nearly completely forgotten about. This is one that I go on about quite a bit in some of my videos, and the main reason for this is because once upon a time in the late 80s, I actually worked in a shoe store, and I remember how shocked I was at how many customers struggled to even put a proper knot in their shoelaces. Imagine how bad people must be with that now. This is a very forgotten primary skill that would be critical in a survival situation, and even though there are hundreds of different kinds of knots, you really only need a basic few for survival purposes, and you can sit there and play with knots anytime to practice these skills. Number 3, knife wielding. Here we are again, looking at another of man's oldest tools, and again, this is one that most people have little, if any, skill with. I dare say even most people who carry a knife likely can't use one properly or even hold it correctly. They are basically carrying a tool that they cannot use, that they could potentially harm themselves with as much as harm anyone else. And this is not a tool that is too difficult to master. You could even sit there and again watch TV while safely practicing proper grip technique. Do you know how to properly sharpen your knife? A dull knife is harder to work with and therefore more dangerous than a sharp one in many respects. Do you know how to whittle with your knife? It's a good way to practice kindling for when you practice your fire starting techniques. Number 4, orienteering. That is the art of navigation. Yet another lost art in the modern era. We live in a complacent society that takes learning how to get around completely for granted because we have GPS built right into our phones. People don't need to know how to read a map or a compass or figure out landmarks or figure out anything really. Basically, GPS, along with a lot of other modern technology, has made people very lazy. Orienteering is something that is easy to learn that you can do right from home. Get your hands on some local maps, street maps, parks and recreation maps, topographical maps, any kind of map you can find for the area where you live for a start. Study and learn to understand them. Get a decent compass and learn how to orient your maps and compass and how to take bearings. Study your immediate area and figure out landmarks. If the power ever went out for a prolonged period, most people would be helpless because they can't get around without GPS telling them exactly what to do. Don't be one of these people. And number 5, Mortal Kombat, that is, hand-to-hand fighting skills. All too often I've heard the phrase, "That's why I carry a gun." And there's nothing wrong with that, but that gun won't do you any good if you don't have it. And as implausible as many would claim that is, there are many situations by which you could forget your weapon, drop it, be forced to leave it behind, or even get disarmed in a given situation. And then what will you do? Even if you are home alone, there are some basics that you can do in order to work on technique and reaction time. Unless you have no other options, it's foolish to always rely on a weapon for protection without considering that you may get caught without one. And you just knew I had one more for you, didn't you? Call it number 6 if you will. Physical fitness. All the rest of this list is very likely pointless if you are hopelessly out of shape. So unless you have some legitimate medical reason why you are unable to exercise, there really is no excuse. And as Jack LaLanne proved to housewives back in the 1950s, you can work out anywhere, anytime. Once again, even while you are sitting there watching TV, you can be doing some sort of exercise. So everyone, in my opinion, should be getting a healthy combination of cardio and strength training on a fairly regular basis. So I hope you found this list helpful. If you have anything you would like to add to the list, feel free to post it in the comments section down below. Please do give the video a thumbs up, the easiest way to show your appreciation. Share it if you can and subscribe if you are new. If you would like to help the channel out, there are links for that down below. Every little bit helps and I sure do appreciate it. And if that's it, then what more can I say but stay frosty, folks. And thanks for watching.